4 years while I'm old, and I'm hoping you guys will be able to get this financial cliff resolved, because it was majorly uncomfortable when it got to it last summer, and kick the can down the road type of thing. One of the things that I'm personally frustrated at is the inability to get either the Republicans firing on all cylinders. I got to give the Democrats one thing of credit, is they tend to get on message and stay on message, and they're united, and even if it's wrong. We have a tough time getting a united front, at least the appearance of one. And I think that Speaker Boehner needs to call on some of these votes and call out, on the floor, on the record, as to where people spend. So we have a clearer strategy or understand why they're going that way and why we go this way and what our message is. I just find it, and I don't know whether it's because of a biased media or because of inability to communicate the message, but we're listening to some montage of clips about what caused the embassy attack. It was all about this video, and now it's come out that they now know that there was a request, official request for additional security, were summarily denied. And it's like, we've got to call them on that stuff.
Well, I think there's a couple things. I think when you are the executive, you have a clear image over the legislative body. And I think that's in federal government, state government, in terms of messaging, in terms of communication. But it becomes, I think, increasingly important for those who are serving in office to consistently communicate with the people they represent. And this is why when I come home every weekend on the for district court hearings, I have town hall meetings, I have accessibility to anybody, requests to meet with me or speak. When I'm in DC, I do telephone meetings to try to communicate what's going on and give up-to-date status reports of what's going on. So that's sort of on the local. National, is different. I experienced it when I was mayor of Manchester. The mayor will come to you and ask you for what's going on. Now they may go to a member of the legislative body to communicate also and get an opinion, but it's the it is the chief executive of that community or that state that really tends to get a lot to drive what the conversation is. But in the case of what happened in Libya, here's the downside. The administration released information last night in anticipation of a hearing today in the Oversight Committee. And they essentially released that they were aware it was a terrorist attack. We did find out that there were requests for security that appeared to be denied, and some of that will come to light today, I think, in the hearing. But it's interesting that all that information was provided, a lot of this was provided last night in anticipation of a public hearing. Had the public hearing not been scheduled, the country had started to find out some of this information from the administration. And it came up in last night's debate. There was a question about what occurred with Ambassador Stevens, what's going on in Libya. My opponent referenced the fact that there are going to be bumps in the road. And my feeling was, we had 4 Americans, including an ambassador, who was killed. That's not a bump in the road. I would never refer to deaths of Americans as bumps in the road. And say what you want, an ambassador is the president's emissary, is the person who represents the president of the United States. And regardless of who the president is, I want to make sure that the ambassadors to the president of the United States are protected and being able to complete their mission. And there was a clear breakdown of security. And it appears that there's still pockets of information that either the State Department or the administration is not aware of, doesn't have in terms of why the breakdown occurred. Who drove, how did the ambassador get to the hospital? These are serious things. Could you imagine if this happened in your local community? your police chief or your mayor couldn't answer these questions, people would be frustrated and angry, rightfully so. So I think this is going to become a particularly important debate component given on Thursday in the vice presidentials, considering Joe Biden was largely brought up to this table to have that experience, international experience, and he does bring a lot of that to the table. So we'll see. I suspect a good portion, they'll have a 10-minute segment, I'm sure, at least on the debate to talk about that.
It's disheartening that there can be so much illegitimate spin put on these things that ultimately come out and see light and say, it's not how it happened, and that's part of the problem, I guess. But I want to congratulate you for doing what you've done, and
thank you.
I'm going to vote for you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate everything. It's not an easy job. I mean, Bill's all dear friend, and I've worked with Bill very closely.
Good man.
Just saw him not too long ago, but it's a tough job. I mean, he'd be in state, but not at home. That, to my way of thinking, we get old after a while because it's all consuming. But you do it well.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I do it because I care about the state and I care about the country. And people ask how challenging it is and what is it like? How does it affect you as an individual? I love what I do. How it really affects me is I'm away from my wife, I'm away from my children, and my kids are now 9 and 7. And my 7-year-old Jack, a couple weeks ago, said to me, he asked me if I could get a job where I could sleep at home every night. And it's very cute.
Yeah, it's tough, really.
But so I talk with them, and the longer that I'm home, the periods of time that I'm home, as much as they appreciate it, they get used to that. And we try every day for me to be with the kids at some point every single day for a substantive amount of time. And when your son asks you that, it affects you. And I explain to him, my job and why I do what I do. And there was an interview that was being conducted the other day of me by a TV station, and my kids happened to be in the room, and they asked if they could ask the kids a question. They asked my son, about the job. Do you want to see your dad reelected? And everyone sits there and waits to see what the answer is. And he said yes. And he said, well, what do you tell me about your dad and what he does? And this is through the lens of a 7-year-old. He says, well, my dad helps people. And it's amazing to see. This is
to hear that
children,
as a parent.
Yeah, to hear it as a parent.
Really something. Yeah.
And we really try to keep the kids separated from my public life. We want them to have a regular life. We want them to experience regular things, and that's important. But we also want them to understand, the job that I do and the importance of it, and why, it takes me away from the family from certain times. So to try to strike that balance is a challenge.
My daughter, Michelle, manages a couple of hotels in Columbia for Steve.
Oh, really?
And honest to God, her little 4-year-old said something very similar. When you get a job where you're home, because out at 6:30 in the morning, because she's got to get down and go to one hotel and then walk next to the next one and see what's going on. She's a general manager of 2 of them, so I can sympathize, but not to the level and degree that she is able to get home at night, and it's a commendable task. But it's a different.
Well, I try to tell the kids that look, there are a lot of parents who work hard, very busy, because they want to provide for the family and they want to. While my job is public, people work just as hard as I do. And people have to make tough choices to support.
Well, look for leadership. That's what makes it exciting. And without trying to butter the bread here, but that's what makes it exciting to see people like yourself step up and do that, because it takes leadership. You've got to find ways to do the right thing, not just the easy or the cute or the what's in it for me type of a thing. Actually do the thing that needs to be done, the hard thing. Good for you.
Well, hopefully, in terms of the fiscal cliff, and these things they should have been handled long ago. And what's frustrating, and this came up in the debate last night, is the House has passed extensions of all of the existing tax rates, awaiting action in the Senate. Sequestration, we have passed replacement cuts over and above the amount that we need to replace, and we've sent it to the Senate. this proposal to you pick and choose what you are willing to agree with. Harry Reid has said, well, we're going to wait until after the election. So the certainty and the predictability that small business owners need they're not getting it. You have defense-related businesses that are laying people off. You have contractors that are laying people off. And all they want to know is, what are the rules of the game?
Right.
You know, that's all they want to know. Reasonable requests. So I consistently hear from small business owners, look, extend our rates, let us know that what rate we're going to be paying at, so we can then plan at least for the next year. And really, the conversation in Washington is that I think there are those in the Senate who would like to, in exchange for giving us the replacement cuts on sequestration, they want to raise the top 2 rates on the individual side, which to me is a horse trading game that they want to play. And my feeling is you should take each issue individually. I mean, you don't have to put 2 issues together in order for them to get the tax hikes that they want. Let's deal with sequestration. We all agree that sequestration shouldn't occur. I mean, we have enough Democrats who agree in the Senate and the House that sequestration should not occur. So we all have the votes. Let's just get it done. And then let's have the debate and the discussion about tax rates and where they should be. But you know, I remind Democrats that President Clinton, President Obama, have both said shouldn't be raising taxes in an economy like this in a recession. And you know, I kind of go back to business owners and say, how are you doing? Are your sales up? Are your revenues up 20, 30%? Or are you struggling? Are you still?
You know, the terminology now is, if your sales are flat, that's the new up.
That's the new up.
And it's like, it's unfortunate, but, you know, I think the problem, you know, we've been doing this for 40 years as of July 1st. We bought the Marine in 72, 73 had an oil embargo. You couldn't get fuel for your Volkswagen, never mind for boats, they were unnecessary. And then we went through a period in 79 with 21%, 21.5% prime interest rates. You know, we could finance people's boats for a good deal, 18%, which is credit card interest rates.
Right.
You know, we come through these cycles, and this particular one has probably been the longest, most unenjoyable because of 2 things: lack of clarity and leadership, and number 2, some type of fiscal policy in place that doesn't strip all the incentives for being in your own business. You know, I mean, if you're in a business and you're making money, you're able to spread it around as well to your employees, i.e. salaries, benefits, retirement plans, short-term disabilities, whatever. Most of the business people I've talked to had those, as well as ourselves, have stripped them away as a cost containment thing, because it's nice, but I think the underlying statement on this thing is people in this economy right now, and have been, are buying what they need, not what they want. And that's got a huge effect on us in this industry. Boats are not a necessary thing to get to work with, or to, you know, generate money with. They generate memories and great times. But so we're seeing that also in the hospitality industry. I mean, we were blessed with a really great, hot, nice, typical New England summer this summer. Weather has an effect. But now, you know, you see a lot of places that very rarely do I see even lot is full sign across the way on the beach, which any given hot day in the summer, okay, July and August, that sign's up by 9:30. And it wasn't happening.
Right.
So you're seeing it. Gas prices are on the rise. You know, that doesn't help anybody at this point. So, you know, I think the clarity is not there for business people to be able to make projections out. I mean, we have to buy now the boats for next year. Because the manufacturers don't have them sitting on the shelf.
So that's a good example of clarity. Because you don't know what your tax rate's going to be, or for that matter, what fuel prices are going to be. How do you try to project what next year's, you know, purchasing opportunities are going to be from your customers? I mean,
well, there's been historically a degree of stability that allowed us to make those estimates. If you've been here a couple of hours earlier, our boat manufacturer, regional rep, international from Canada and the U.S., and his sales rep for the region were here. We were talking about this very same thing, and it's just hard to project when you don't know what the rules are. You said that, and I completely agree. I mean, that's it. We don't know what the rules of engagement are as far as our expectations from the economy that we're forced to do business in. We have no idea where it's going.
How many employees do you have?
12.
12 full-time.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, when we set this up, This is the last week of our closed only on Tuesdays, open the other 6 days a week. So half the crew gets Monday and Tuesday,
Right.
and the half gets Tuesday and Wednesday. So, you know, that's why we're lighthouse today. But next week we go to actually closing on Sundays and Mondays and open 5 days. It gets everybody the same days off. It's hard to do half staff, but you know, we try to be open 6 days a week, and after being open since June 7 days a week through Labor Day, everybody's ready for a little bit of a break. And
But it's difficult, because my particular job here is to project what we should order for boats and what crystal ball is there. And I've done it for a long time, but this is a tough one this year to figure out. And the manufacturers are feeling the same thing. It wasn't just us that is saying this, they're feeling it. So from an economic and national economic point of view, if this uncertainty is there, it's pervasive. And being pervasive, it's going to affect what the overall gross is for this company who pays taxes too. It's to do, I mean, the manufacturer of these products, and then similarly the engine companies who provide engines to these things, so on and so forth. It will affect us. So yeah, we're looking for some degree of intellectual capacity to understand that, as you said, we could get this discussion done. But the paraphrase of that is, as long as there's no political gain to not having that discussion, which is unfortunately what leadership at the Senate level seems to want to do. They're playing brinksmanship with the entire economy right now because it's politically gainful for them. Horrible. And that's going to be their legacy. Shame on them.
And the only story that we heard at the time is the Republicans decided to go home and campaign rather than dealing with the fiscal crisis. The silence was deafening as far as talking about pointing the actual factual finger. And I think that's part of what I'd love to see is a certain, other than fact check.
This came up last night in the debate, and my response was, well, we passed the extensions of the tax rates. We have passed proposals for sequestration. We can be back in D.C. on a moment's notice, and we're happy to do so if the Senate would just acknowledge that they'll actually work with us. And it is frustrating when you hear Harry Reid say, well, we are not going to handle this. We, meaning the Senate, are not going to handle this until after the election. Well, you know, when I go home and I talk to business owners, this is what I hear. And it's not partisans, it's business owners that say, we need to plan for the next year, and we don't know. It is very frustrating.
Well, we're going to have a replay of Obamacare, you know, Christmas Eve, still in session, cutting, you know, deals and everything else. I mean, I'm not saying in the Senate, and that's just what seems to be his modus operandi, is brinksmanship up to the bitter end.
Well, and people are frustrated, and they should be, because people want results. I mean, people at the end of the day, they send their representative or their senator to Washington to work on their behalf. And when that is not happening, I don't like to try to play the blame game, but at some point, when people ask you, you've got to, you know, the way I try to explain it, well, here's what we've done in the House. What we have done is pass these pieces of legislation. We've sent them on to the Senate. We have maintained that we are willing to work with you. Give us an indication of what your plan is. And when Harry Reid responds, he says, well, we're not going to handle it, to deal with this until after the election. That's a pretty clear statement. It's a pretty clear statement.
And there's historical precedent to a non-Republican president showing the leadership skills to say, look guys, get this problem solved, stop the games, or something to that effect. And that's not happening.
If the president picked up the phone and called Harry Reid and said, call the Senate back, get this done.
Right.
And
That's what I
said,
said.
really, not political, but just get it done.
Get it done.
The Senate would do that.
That's exactly my point. The lack of leadership from the top.
And look, I was a mayor. I mean, I try to put it in this context. When there is a crisis in your city, people don't look for leadership from the alderman. They say, what is the mayor going to do? Every department head asks it, the media asks it, your constituents ask it. They don't say, gee, let me go talk to the alderman and find out what the alderman is going to do. They say, let me go talk to the mayor, because the mayor is the man in charge. Same thing with the governor, same thing with the president. So at some point, you've got to put partisanship aside and do what's right for the country. So what I try to explain to people is what the House is in control of is its votes. And we have voted on all of these issues, and we have sent solutions over to the Senate. So,
Well,
anyway,
good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good luck.
Pleasure.
Thank you for stopping.